Greetings from Las Vegas. I'm Andy Iskoe with our weekly recap of the major football handicapping contests here in Nevada, and specifically, more frequently, the city of Las Vegas. We look at properties offered by three of the major properties: the Golden Nugget, the Westgate Superbook, and the Circa Race and Sportsbook. We begin each week with a recap of the Ultimate Football Challenge sponsored by the Golden Nugget Sportsbook. This is a contest that combines college and pro selection. So over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a little bit more difficult for a lot of the contestants who rely mostly on college football for their selections because the college football regular season has ended. We've got Army Navy this weekend and then a bowl game spread out over about a 3-week period. So a lot of those college experts are going to have to dig into the NFL and hopefully have some success there. There are 153 entries in this contest this year. The contest leader has a record through 91 picks of 58, 30, and 3, counting 1 point for a point spread win, half a point for a point spread push, and 0 points for a point spread loss. That leader has 59.5 out of the possible 91 points. That works out to a 65.4% winning percentage. The second place contestant trails the leader by 1.5 points, or a game and a half in the standings. Of the 153 contestants, 6 are hitting at 60% or more for the season. That's 3.9% of the field, which is basically 1 out of every 25 entrants managing 60%. That's a low record this year, as it's been a difficult time for a lot of the college handicappers. This rate is usually, for the leader at least, in the upper 60s. The contest pays the top 20 and prize and ties, and currently it takes 51.5 or 91 points to be in the money, which would be 56.6%. So 7 are tied for the final 2 paying places of 19 and 20. We now go to the first of 2 contests sponsored by the Westgate Race and Sportsbook. This is what was called the Super Contest Gold, what is called the Super Contest Gold. It's a $5,000 entry fee, winner take all, with 92 contestants or 92 entries. That's $460,000 awaiting one winner at the end of the season. For the 2 Westgate contests and 1 of the Circa contests, we report each week on the consensus of the field. What are the 5 most popular plays amongst the 92 entrants, for example, here in the Westgate, and we report that as the consensus for each week and for the season. This past week, the consensus of the top 5 plays went 3-2, bringing the season-to-date record to 39, 24, and 2. Again, point for a win, half point for a push, 0 for a loss. That works out to 40 of a possible 65 points. That's 61.5%, which is really an outstanding record for the top 5 selections, and that's a testament to the quality of the 92 entrants who put up $5,000 per entry for this. The 3 winning selections in the consensus this week: the 49ers, the top selection; number 3 selection, the Carolina Panthers; and number 4, the Los Angeles Rams. The 2 losing selections, the Denver Broncos, the second most popular, and the 5th most popular, Pittsburgh Steelers. The one leader in this contest has a record of 43, 21, and 1 for 43.5 out of a possible 65 points, 66.9% winning percentage. That's slightly better than 2 out of every 3. 9 of the 92 contestants are at 62% or more, which works out to 9.8%, just under 10% of the entire field. And again, this is a winner take all, so $460,000 awaits the winner after week 18. The second contest, sponsored by the Westgate Superbook, is the longest running major contest. It's similar to the Super Contest Gold in that you have 5 selections per week against a constant or static point spread. The point spreads at the Westgate for both contests are the same, and they are released on Wednesday afternoons, roughly about 5 p.m. Pacific time. Looking at the consensus of the top 5 plays: 33, 24, and 3 coming in, 3-2 this past week. That's 36, 26, and 3. 37.5 of 65 points. That's 57.7%. Pretty decent percentage. As I've reported earlier, for many, many years, the consensus did not even hit 50%. Over the last few years, the quality of the field has improved, and there are 1,301 entries this year. There are 4 co-leaders with a record of roughly 44, 21, and 0, or something equivalent to that, resulting in 44 of a possible 65 points. That's 67.7%. Again, slightly out of 2 out of 3 for the 4 co-leaders, who are a half game ahead of the next contestant. Right now, 114 of the 1,301 contestants are at 60% or better. That works out to 8.8% or slightly under 9% of the total field. Let me mention the top 5 picks. The 3 winners this week, the San Francisco 49ers, Detroit Lions, and the LA Rams. Those were 1, 3, and 4 as far as popularity. The second and fifth most popular selections, the Denver Broncos and Pittsburgh Steelers, were the 2 losing selections for the Super Contest Classic. The top 30 plus ties get paid at the end of the season for the main contest. Currently, 41 points will tie you for a paying place, 26 through 30, and that works out to 63.1% of the field. I'm sorry, the winning percentage for the contestants currently in a paying position. Now we turn to the new kids on the block, the 2 contests sponsored by the Circa Race and Sportsbook that opened business in 2019. That was the first year of the Circa Millions contest. The one we'll get to next, the Circa Survivor, began a year later with the 2020 season. This year they attracted 5,247 5,274 entries paying $1,000 each. The consensus this past week, the lines, by the way, for the Circa Millions are a bit later than the Westgate, and sometimes there are differences in the line as a result. These selections are generally released not Wednesday afternoon or evening like the Westgate, but Thursday morning, roughly around 10 a.m. Pacific time. So there will be slight differences, and sometimes those differences do come into play as far as the point spread results, and also how the contestants mark their selections. They may play one game in the Westgate and not play that game, but substitute a different game in the Circa simply because of the difference in the lines between the 2 contests. Last week, the consensus of the top 5 plays went 3-2, bringing the season-to-date record in the Circa Millions to 35, 27, and 3. 36.5 out of a possible 65 points, 56.2% for the consensus of those 5,700 plus entries, and that's still a nice profit. Not quite as high as the couple in the Westgate, but still, it'll get you money if you've been following those 5 consensus plays each week since the start of the season. Of the 5 consensus plays last week, the winners, once again, the 49ers, the number 3 choice Rams, the number 4 choice Lions, and the 2 losers were the number 2 selection, the Denver Broncos, and the number 5 selection, Pittsburgh Steelers. Currently, there is a solo or a single leader with a record of 45, 18, and 2, working out to a total of 46 of a possible 65 points, 70.8% winning percentage. Anything above 65% is really considered outstanding. So being above 70% more than 2 ways through the season is really outstanding. There are 2 contestants or 2 entries tied for second, a half point behind the current leader. Of the 5,274 entries, 452 or 8.6% of the total field are hitting at 60%. And if you've been following along over the last several weeks, going back really to the early part of the season, that percentage of the contestants hitting 60% or better has been slowly dropping week after week after week. In the Circa Millions, the main contest, top 100 plus ties will collect part of the prize pool. Currently, it takes 41.5 points, a 63.9%, almost 64% winning percentage to be in the money. With the final paying positions, there are 40 entrants tied for places 84 to 123. So they will split the prize pool. They would split the prize pool for places 84 through 100, split 40 ways if the contest were to end today. Finally, we get to what's become the most talked about major and most heavily played contest, certainly in the U.S., if not around the world, at least that we're aware of, and that's the Circa Survivor. The premise, very simple. Pick one NFL team a week to win its game straight up, no point spread. If that team wins, you advance to the following week. You cannot pick a team more than once, and that becomes very part of the strategy involved, not just in planning for the season, but adapting and adjusting as the season plays out. We've already had 13 NFL weeks, but 14 contest weeks because Thanksgiving week and Christmas week is split into 2 half weeks or 2 partial weeks to the extent that you have to make a selection for the first part of the week. For example, Thanksgiving week, remaining contestants had to make a pick on out of the 4 games played Thursday and Friday. If they won in advance, then they had to pick from another selection for the second part of Thanksgiving week. which were the Sunday and Monday games, and that eliminated, as we detailed last week, a significant part of the remaining field, especially on Thanksgiving Thursday when the Detroit Lions were upset by the Green Bay Packers. That eliminated about 2/3 of the contestants who were remaining at that time. In fact, that week and this past and the week following really eliminated a great part of the field. There were 9,267 original entries. At $1,000, that means the prize pool, the winner take all for the final survivor or survivors, if they either all go unbeaten through the 20 weeks of the contest or they're all eliminated in the same week. $9,267,000 awaits those who collect in the last man standing survivor contest at the Circa. Of the 9,267 in weeks 1 through 12, the first 2/3 of the NFL season, the first 12 of the 20-week contest, 9,187 entries were eliminated. That's 99.1% of the original field, leaving just 80 entrants, 80 entries alive into this past week, week 13, or basically 0.9% of the remaining field, of the original field, excuse me. There were 50 of the 80 eliminated in week 13. One entry eliminated picking the Jets over the Atlanta Falcons. Another entry was eliminated by picking the Saints in their game this past weekend. However, the two most popular teams that were eliminated, 24 contestants or 24 entries were eliminated by the Pittsburgh Steelers losing at home to Arizona, and another 24 eliminated Monday night when the Jaguars were upset at home by the Cincinnati Bengals. So that means 62.5% of the remaining 50 entries were eliminated this past week, leaving just 30 entries advancing to week 14, or roughly 0.3% of the original 9,267 entries. Now, a lot of thought goes into this point of the season as far as those with remaining entries. Do I sell part of my entries? Do I continue to play? Do I take on partners? Do I split it up amongst others? Do I sell part of it and retain portion? Each entry right now has an implied value of $308,900. In other words, if all 30 entrants either go through the season perfect or are eliminated in the same week, that's how much of the $9,267,000 each of those 30 entries would be worth. So a lot to be determined over the final 5 weeks of the regular season, 6 weeks in the contest season, and we'll be back next week with another recap, this week recapping week 14. For more information, a little bit of a tutorial of how to access this information on the internet, which contains a lot more information and details. For example, you may want to check in Sunday mornings and see what the top 5 consensus plays are in advance of the kickoff of those Sunday games. You may want to read the tutorial, the link to which is provided in the information below this video. So with that being said, have a great week, everybody, and we'll be back with next week's contest report next week.